Is it that the wanting changes as you're going through life?
Well, let's go back to the specifics of your first question. What we heard you say is, why do I often not do the things that I know are really good for me and that I know I really want to do? Why do I gravitate out of habit to things less fulfilling? And we say out of habit is the key word. In other words, it is not possible to live in an environment and not by osmosis pick up on the habit of that. And so what we've talked about yesterday is how to diminish that habit of disallowing the energy. Every now and again we will talk to a physical friend who says to us, Abraham, I have had enough with physical experience. It's been hard. I've lived this life. I figured some things out, but I'm done with physical. So when I die, I don't want to come back. So if you would please tell everybody that might be interested, I'm not coming back. This is my last physical incarnation. I want no more of this. And we say, we will carry your message, but we must tell you that it's not from this physical conscious perspective that those decisions are made. It's from the broader non-physical perspective where all really is well. And so what we hear from you, even though you're talking about the deliciousness of physical life, still your question is poised a bit at pushing against death. And from the broader non-physical perspective, there is never any pushing against death because there is not death. So it is as simple as you're deciding to be here today or deciding to go to this movie instead of this movie. Your non-physical energy is saying, I would like to extend myself here for a while. And when that has served its purpose from the broader non-physical perspective's opinion, then a new perspective is chosen. It really is about that. Physical beings have a hard time understanding that because, for the most part, you have only your physical perspective. That's why we are together coming to an awareness of the connection. In other words, the connection between the non-physical and the physical is the bridge that we are trying to help you build, because as you make that connection and you have access then to that broader perspective, the first thing that happens with many of you is you no longer fear or push against death. You accept that there is not death, and when you're no longer pushing against death, then and only then do you really begin to live life.
Right. I was just curious because I was thinking, yesterday you mentioned the fact that well-being is at the forefront, right?
Yes.
And
it is all that there is.
Right.
It is the only source.
And I think your example yesterday was that, say for example, if you had a disease like cancer or AIDS or something like that, that just by actually focusing on well-being, that would you would cure yourself.
Actually, you don't even have to focus on well-being. You just have to take your attention away from not well-being, which is what causes the resistance.
So if
you see, you don't have to run around in your physical body and focus on things of well-being. You just have to sense when you're focused upon the not well-being, and therefore you can feel that negative emotion, which is your indicator of resistance. You just have to get your attention off of the things that produce resistance, and well-being will be. It is natural. You don't have to justify it or earn it or even direct it. It is. You just have to stay away from the vibration that disallows it, you see.
So out of curiosity, because I've experienced well-being at certain times in life, and it's such a great feeling, my thought was, well, if you're always in that state of being, then how does the physical idea or the state of death ever come in? Do you see what I'm getting at? If you're totally in this state of well-beingness, how could death take place?
Well,
I mean, not that I wouldn't want to experience it, because I'm sure there must be something interesting on the other side.
So let's talk about death. What you heard from us and what you are amplifying here is that death is the byproduct of not allowing the energy to flow. In other words, we talked yesterday about how more people every day get a little more resistant, which means they disallow the energy a little more, which means they get tireder and crankier and slower, and eventually they croak. We try to be as disrespectful as we can about death, since there is not any. Now what we are talking about is the decision from non-physical to change perspectives. In other words, death is not only a process of a physical being disallowing the energy. What about directing your attention somewhere else? What about saying, this life has been great, and I've done everything that I can imagine that I'm wanting to do here. Wonder what's next? And turning your attention toward something that is beyond that, you see. That is the way the beasts do it. In other words, as they recognize that they are about to be someone's lunch, right, they just relax into that blissful knowing. They knew it when they came forth. They knew that they would live in the now, and because they are so good at living in the now, they don't push against anything, and so they are continually and easily making the transition from physical life to physical death, to physical life to physical death, to physical life to physical death. Not even missing a beat in it, you see. And that is really the optimum for you, too. Most physical beings don't understand that. As we watch you throughout your history, we've seen you responding to what you have come to know as physical death in many different ways. For the most part, you have resisted it. Today, there is a big movement afoot where physical beings have decided that they will not die, that they will achieve higher vibration, and they are using the word ascend. And we say in reality what they are talking about, every single one of you does every single time anyway. In other words, they're not talking about anything that is different. But in many cases, they are talking about it from a lackful place still of pushing against death. They're not saying, I'm wanting to remain, or I'm wanting to maintain this body, or I'm wanting to reemerge into non-physical without having physical death. They are still pushing against physical death, you see.
Yeah, I see. Thank you. I just realized, I was seeing it as the end of this exciting life.
Yes, as something still not wanted, and we understand why you would say that. In other words, when you are enjoying anything, the idea of it coming to an end, it does bring forth that vibration of lack. But that's the very thing that we are wanting to work on here together. When you are focused in your now, and when you really know that all is well, then you don't have to dread endings, because you know that there is only eternal life and joy. And so, when you really get that and you stop pushing against the endings, then your now becomes full in the way you've intended it to be, you see. And then you are the conscious creator that you really are, endlessly finding that which satisfies your desire to focus upon. Let's begin one more time, just because you're upon the brink of getting it and we want you to have it. You use the word, and it's the perfect word. You are extensions. You are physical extensions of pure, positive, non-physical energy. How you ever got the idea you were separate, how you ever got the idea you were here to prove something, it is a spin-off of man's lackful thought. You are extension of this pure, positive energy, which means you are creators. You said, what could be better than a physical environment of exaggerated contrast? Because since I am a creator, to be able to view what is wanted and what is not wanted, I can come to greater, more deliberate choice about the way I would like to utilize the energy. In other words, since I'm an extension of the creator, I'd like to make some decisions about what is created. There was never any risk, because if you choose something vibrationally not in harmony with the creative energy itself, the energy just doesn't flow. So you knew you couldn't mess it up. You knew you couldn't destroy anything. You knew that the worst thing that could happen is that you could get focused on something that wouldn't allow the energy to flow. You said, this will be great fun. I'll go forth into this sea of contrast, and I'll feel the energy flow, and I'll feel it not flow, and I'll get the sense of when it's flowing and when it's not. And once I'm really knowing how it's flowing, then I'll make some decisions. And I'll take this God force or this creative life force into realms that has not been before. I will add unto all that is, not just I'll fix this physical dimension. I'll add unto all that is by my ability to focus in this physical time and place, by my ability to connect with the energy that creates worlds. I, creator, will add unto. Then you came forth, you saw the contrast, and in some cases the contrast helped you to define what you wanted and you stayed connected, and in some cases the contrast took you right into the realm of lack where you had no access to the energy. But every time it happened, you felt it, you see.